to deal with. We are. I'll get to this at some time, but maybe not.
We're good? Okay, I'd like to ask everybody to rise so we can have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody to the Board of Commissioners meeting for June 25th. It is actually our last meeting of this budget year 23-24. Roll call, please.
Gross.
Present.
Bowman.
Present.
Ott.
Here.
Sykes. Meyer.
Here. Commissioner Sykes will not be joining us today. He's a little under the weather, so we will make do with the four. Open meetings law is posted on the south side of our chambers. It is on the wall outside of our chambers and also on our website. Proof of publication was in the News Times June 20th and also on our website. Review and approve the minutes of our June 17th Board of Commissioner meeting. Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, guys. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Gross.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Ott.
Yes.
Sykes. Obermeyer.
Yes, adopt today's agenda.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Ott.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Sykes. Obermeyer.
Yes. Officials forum. Morning, Harv.
Good morning, everyone. East Bridge on Road 22, we're building the abutments back to it and getting that finished up. If everything goes well, we'll have that done today. It still will not be open to traffic because the West Bridge is taken out and they're working on that one. So the people that need to get into their fields, they can get across it, but it's still not open to everybody for a while. The bridge on Road 18 is poured. The deck is just curing out on the thing. That will be 21 to 28 days before it is cured out. We will not start putting abutments back onto that bridge until probably the week of July 8th through whatever it is. That would be the 21 to 28 days since it was poured. Then we will get that one pulled up, and once we get the abutments built or the approaches built back to that, that one could be opened up. So hopefully that one will be opened up by mid-July, maybe third week in July. Should be open by that time, assuming that Mother Nature works well with us. The West Bridge on Road 22 between T and U, they have the abutments, the main part of the abutment already drove, part of it built. They have the wings to yet put on that side, then they will do the other side, or the west abutment. I would anticipate by the end of the week, they're going to be pretty close to being ready to set beams onto that. So I would guess that maybe next week, depending on how their time goes and all that good stuff, that they would be pouring a deck on that. If my timeline is correct, that means we would be able to get in and start building approaches back to that bridge. Basically, the first week in August is about where that would wind up being for the 21 to 28 days for the deck to cure out. So that's roughly where we are there. In the meantime, since we're getting done with the East Bridge, we're going to go out and start working on Road 11 between G and H, where we had some wash problems. And we will be working on that, trying to get that taken care of while we're waiting for the deck to cure out on Road 18. Other than that, we're hauling gravel, blading roads. So.
Skipping ahead to the vendor claims today, the one vendor claimant today to Norfolk.
Yes.
Is that for the first one on 22 then?
That is for the first
Okay.
bridge, that east bridge on Road 22, yes.
Okay,
That is where that is. So,
perfect. So now it's time to go up and take a look at things. I was up there early on. I haven't been back up for a while, so.
right. Now, it's And of course, I got to inspect them and get that inspection in before we can open them up. But like I said, that mile is not going to be open to all kinds of traffic until, but I have to get that done for a bridge inspection on them so that we can officially open it. So
But it looks like the way they're rolling,
they have been.
barring anything, harvest should be unimpeded.
You are right, they should. I mean, and they have done very well at getting these bridges done and going through there. I've been impressed
Good
with the
deal.
speed that they're doing this at. So, yeah, and I don't see, well, you never know with Mother Nature,
Right.
but I think they're gonna be able to stay on what my estimated timeline is, but unofficial.
Well, talk to our neighbors in Iowa and they'd tell you things happen.
South Dakota, North Nebraska, I understand Nance County had problems up there also, so yes, it could happen anytime.
Okay. Any other questions about this morning?
Are they hauling gravel all over or just in certain area right now?
We go to where we think the biggest need is, and that's where we go with the gravel. What it amounts to. And with that said, I know that each road that everybody drives on is the one that needs it the most. Unfortunately, I can't get to every one road in the county, so.
I know.
Actually, I took a nice ride last weekend. I thought everything was looking pretty good, other than I happened to be around the G and H and, you know,
Yes.
things happen after rains. I
Right.
mean,
Well, and there's Road 12 G and H needs some attention too. I just don't know when I'm gonna be able to get to do it, is what it needs. That north ditch needs cleaned out on that one so the water can stay in the
In the
ditch instead of running across the road. But it is just one of them deals, you know, we have to deal with what we're handed.
Time.
So,
thanks, Harv.
all righty?
Very good.
Any other officials this morning?
If I may.
Sure. Come on up, Gary. Good morning.
Thank you, Gary Olson, County Attorney's Office. I think I'm still recovering from 12 days ago with Miss Amanda Becker, who, one of the workers in my office announced that she was going to be leaving. Her husband was able to take a job at Brookings County and Brookings, South Dakota. And I just remember the shock of being informed that in a small office, a loss of any employee is significant. The amount of knowledge that she has in her brain is going to be very, very difficult to replace. And so she's been with us since 2018. She is going to be sorely missed. She was a great, great addition to not only the community, but really, really, really to my office and to me. She is going to be sorely, sorely missed. Conversely, good news, we were able to hire Rochelle Crowdell. She is presently employed in the Veterans Office. Her employment is due to commence on July 8th, and we will try to get her up to speed as soon as possible. Ms. Becker will remain part-time through the month of July to help with the transition and getting Ms. Crowdell up to speed with the duties of County Court and Board of Mental Health duties, along with all of the assistance with Mr. Hines, his duties as the zoning commissioner, and all the other responsibilities that come through on a daily basis. So I just want to recognize Ms. Becker. I believe there's going to be a recognition for her on Thursday, and she was a tremendous addition to my office and will be greatly missed.
Thank you, Gary.
My turn?
If you got something to say, it would be. Morning, Nick.
Morning, Nick, Veteran Service Office. Obviously, I think Gary alluded to it. He's been called worse than a thief. He's stealing mine, so obviously we will have that job opening here. I've been working with, I talked to Rainey yesterday, talked to Kelly, talked to those guys, so we'll have that, and we'll work through that. And Rochelle's been a great employee for me. We've been together for the last 10 years, so it's gonna be different in my office, that's for sure. We jive well, work well together, so she will be missed. So she'll get a good one. So But yeah, we'll go through the appropriate steps and figure it out, move forward, so, unfortunately.
Nick, while you're here, we've had the conversation, we've got the cage up downstairs to do some stuff. You may just get the rest, I have not told them, but you may just get the rest of the board caught up on, getting
So-
a couple cabinets and that.
From
while you're here.
from our conversation this morning to now, it sounds like Friday is, our big move day now.
Okay,
Josh came to us yesterday and was like, hey, I got some volunteers from the sheriff's department to help us move. So we'll be moving out of that basement storage area that we have across the hall, if you want to call it that. And we'll get all of our stuff out of there. I could have used a different word, but we'll get all of our stuff out of there, organize it. There will be a small downsizing because it's a smaller area for us, which allows us a little house cleaning, which is definitely needed. We talked about getting some cabinets. We have brass. We've got about a significant amount of brass down there that we use for grave markers and stuff like that. So just to organize that, keep it safe so it's not accessible, we can lock it up, we can just keep it all safe. It is an asset of ours, so we're gonna move forward and get that, and just that way we can move forward. Yes, would be the best answer I got, so. Yeah,
Thanks for
that's
your
where we're
help
at.
on
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else this morning, and officials? Okay, we'll move on to public comment. At this time, the public can come forward and take a couple minutes to give some thoughts if they would like to. Good morning.
Good morning. Jennifer Raymond with Linwood Telecommunications. Just a real quick update on the grant process. The current project that we have been working on around the Pool Junction area, the main line fiber is all in place. The electronics go in today. We will test the next couple of days to ensure that it's providing the proper speeds and so forth. And we're actually excited to announce that we'll be starting to hook up customers the beginning of next week. So very excited with that. I've been very, again, pleased with the contractors, Hayden Construction, in this project. Now, in regards to, I know the last meeting, the county approved a contribution for now the 2024 bridge grant. We will actually, in regards to the application process, which is due on Monday the 8th, we, however, are planning on having our application submitted on the 3rd, on Wednesday. Again, I did actually share some documents yesterday in regards to, one was the certificate of contribution, which is actually a requirement of the application. From there, we do have that memorandum of understanding. Again, that is just more something additional and so forth in regards to just kind of talking about the relationship we have between the public and the private, which again, I know is definitely something that Nebraska Public Service Commission really likes to see groups working together and so forth. The last piece, again, is expectedly requesting a letter of support from the commissioners. Other letters of support, I've already received one from Senator Jana Hughes, Southeast Nebraska Development District Tom Bliss, York County Development Corp Lisa Hurley, and then the Pool Junction Superintendent Dave McDonald. So those will be the letters of support that we will be listing or including with our application. After the 8th, it's about a week before actually the Nebraska Public Service Commission then posts all of the applications that were submitted. So once that goes live on their website, I'll just forward that link to all the commissioners. So if you would like to then at least look at our application, our joint application, as well as the others that are out there, you'll have a chance to, an opportunity to look at that.
Okay. Are you hanging around today?
I sure can.
Okay, I was gonna say, we approved the contribution last time, so we can just get the stuff signed at
Correct.
one of our breaks, so if you can hang
Exactly.
around, you can take everything
That sounds
back.
good. I'll stick around. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public this morning? Seeing nobody get up, we'll keep going down the agenda. There is no executive session that I'm aware of needed today, no general assistance claims needed today, payroll and vendor claims today. We do have an additional claim. Carbonite is a claim for $1,933.14. This would come out of our miscellaneous line item, miscellaneous. So this is our backup company
For all of our memory.
For all of our memory, there we go, that's the word I'm looking for. So we do have that in front of us this morning as an additional claim. And this is the last one of this budget year.
Motion to approve payroll and vendor claims with the added claim.
Thank you, Daniel.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Ott,
Yes.
Sykes, Overmeyer.
Yes. Okay, no funding transfers. That we're gonna deal with them later.
Oh, I thought you were gonna do.
Okay, do we have the ones? We have the
I
resolutions.
thought you were gonna do these at that time.
Okay. Thank you. So in our, we'll call them our normal transfers that we have to take care of before the end of the year. Debt service, Fund 2601, we had $371.42 that's being transferred to the Highway Allocation Bond Fund. This was a kind of a cleanup mistake that we had made a few years ago. The money went into the wrong fund, and then as the taxes come in and delinquent taxes come in over years, we continually have to move money back. And over the last year, the $371.42 came in. Our holding fund from our wireless money, we draw some of that down each year to offset some of the cost of our call center. So that amount is $134,565, and that is going from Fund 2914, which is the holding fund, to the 2910, which is the Emergency Managers Fund. The general fund is going to transfer $1,960 to the County Relief and Medical. I believe, do you remember what the note was on that one?
Top one here.
And that is just to establish and help establish a cash reserve in that fund of $5,000. And then the next one up is the general into the state institutions, so general 100 to the 1700, and that is a $10,000 transfer, and that is also to establish a cash reserve, kind of a buffer in that one too. And then the child support agreement, 985 to the general fund of 23,574, and that one was this is a correction of a double posting that happened in the prior year. So those should take care of the last of our budget transfers, and that is like say a cheat sheet that Jill makes up for us at the start of the year. So if we can do those during this period, and then we'll handle the budget transfers a little bit later on. And could we do that? That's a resolution, right?
Yep.
Okay, right. So we need to adopt a resolution.
A motion to adopt a resolution for funding transfers.
Thank you, Daniel.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion regarding these? Roll call, please.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Ott,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Sykes, Overmeyer.
Yes. Okay, next up is discuss an act on transfer in the amount of $824,222.50, and this is our payment and interest for our bond. As we learned a year ago, unfortunately, we had paid one early, so this year we made it to give the treasurer the authority to either pay it in this budget year, and or if she wants to go and pay it next year, she can, it'll be fine. But this would give her the authority to pay it. It is due the 1st of July, right, Megan? So it gives her the authority to pay it yet this year. And this is just our bond. Any questions? spending money like we got it today.
No,
Make a motion to transfer the bond amount?
Thank you.
second,
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bowman,
Yes.
Rhodes,
yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Sykes, Overmeyer.
Yes. Whenever now, right?
Perfect.
Are you gonna try to do it around the first
I was
then?
gonna do it on the first.
Okay, yeah, because that's Monday. Perfect. Okay, next up is discuss and act on CUSA.
Gary just stepped out a second ago, so.
Are we moving too fast for him?
I don't know.
Okay, discuss and act on KDOT supplement agreement for the York County Public Transportation. Lori is sitting in the back.
Good morning.
Good
Laura
morning.
Byers, York County Public Transportation. And just a little bit of background about this. This is a supplement agreement to get money from the state and federal funding for our public transit for fiscal years 2021 through 2023. So right now, they are still holding our June 2023 check until we get this fiscal agreement. This is to give us more money. We have already spent the money for the public transit program back last fiscal year. They're a year behind still on getting us reimbursed because of the audit and the feds coming down on NDOT to make sure everything is correctly paid. So that slows our process down. So now, it was a 2-year funding, and we ran out of federal funds and state funds, but I always build our county budget to make sure that we can still pull those down. And we're needing to pull those down because we ran out of funds from the feds and the state last fiscal year. And so this is to request that we are able to pull down those federal and state funds to match for last year's public transportation program. So this is the county getting funds to reimburse what the county has already paid out.
And it looks like it's roughly between the two, $23,000
Yeah.
that will be in addition.
Yep,
Okay. And this just needs a signature of just
Correct.
you or
just you.
just me? Okay.
Yeah, you were the signator on the original document, so they're looking for your signature on this one.
Any questions of Lori this morning? And you think the funds will be released?
As soon as we get this in and they, excuse me, they're undergoing the second check. They have 2 checks that are done on each month, and it's past the first one and they're on the second one.
Okay.
So as soon as it gets by that second check and they get this, then they will release those June funds. And then they'll start on this year's fiscal
Okay.
year's reimbursement.
Laura, one thing they told us at the meeting we went to a week ago was that the public transit lady gave a talk and she apologized to all the commissioners first off because she said the feds didn't like the way they were filling out paperwork, so
Mhm.
that
Right,
was, so she said they're doing things the way they like it now because they
right,
had them come tell us exactly what you want, so we do it right. So
right, yes.
hopefully
And-
this year won't be as
And
difficult.
the county clerk's office and the county treasurer's office have stepped up and provided them with bundles of papers. They're overwhelmed with all the documentation, but they're getting what they asked for.
Yep. So-
And that's what the feds asked for, so.
Yeah, that was the feds, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions of Lori or comments? Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the supplemental agreement for the KDOT.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bowman,
Yes.
Odd,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Sykes, and Overmeyer.
Thank you very
Get her
much.
today, Lori. Thank you.
Do you have a copy of that?
I don't.
Okay.
Other than what was in the email.
Okay.
Okay, next up, Gary.
Thank you.
Kusa. And I assume that stands for something very long.
Get to it in just a second here. Gary Olson, County Attorney, Tristan Perry with County Attorney's Office. juvenile diversion program. Yes, so my request, and I don't know if it necessarily needs to be acted upon today, but I am making it there. I am have applied for a grant that over a 3-year period of time is $1.3 million, which would be boiled down to $433,000 a year. I am planning on seeking $433,000 a year to use the maximum amount in the grant. The grant does not involve a match from the county. It does not involve the county having to spend any money in regards to this particular project. The grant is offered through the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs, Bureau of Justice Assistance. It's called the Comprehensive Opioid Stimulant and Substance Use Site-Based Program. The grants.gov opportunity number is O-BJA-2024-172128. The incentive for this particular grant on my end is to make a change into way business crime has been addressed in York County. I was born in York, I graduated here in 1979, and quite frankly, that the issues with substance abuse haven't really changed too much. And so this program is an opportunity made to use COSIP funds, not tax dollars, not federal tax dollars, and certainly not York County tax dollars, to address a recurrent issue in York County. The particular, there was an executive summary that in 2022, the Nebraska Criminal Justice Reinvestment Working Group, which is made up of several institutions, including the Office of the Governor, Correctional Services, Courts and Probation, parole, problem-solving courts, legislature, came up with a study that in January 2022 that defined what was going on in the state of Nebraska. And reading from that summary on page 5, against national trends, Nebraska's incarceration rate has been increasing over the last decade. Nebraska's imprisonment rate increased 17% since 2021, while the national imprisonment rate steadily decreased over this period. While the state increased corrections spending to account for the growing prison population, arrest rates decreased and crime rates remained relatively steady. Despite these trends and increased spending, recidivism rates increased. In 2020, Nebraska was just one of 4 states that saw its incarceration rate increase. These trends come at a great cost to the state, with corrections expenditures growing over 50% since 2011 to more than $270 million in 2020. Yet, in spite of this investment, recidivist rates have increased over time, with 30% of those released in 2018 returning to the Nebraska Department of Correctional Systems custody, up 4 percentage points from 2008. In regards to York County, the bookings into the York County Jail in the last fiscal year, not including the last 3 weeks, was 656 people that were booked in. Approximately, well, not approximately, but half of those were from the city of York. 333 were from the county of York. And so the York County has for its size, a population of 14, has an extraordinarily high rate of crime. And that is exemplified, unfortunately, on page 17 of this particular study, which shows that York County and Madison County are tied for the highest incarceration rates per capita in the state of Nebraska. This program that I'm trying to start with these funds hopefully will put a bite into that particular study. so York's strategic location at the intersection of Interstate 81 and Highway 80 makes it a major hub for transportation and commerce in Nebraska. This accessibility brings several challenges: influence of non-resident crime, substance misuse disorders. The easy access to opioids, alcohol, and other illegal drugs contributes significantly to substance misuse disorders in this region. And so the economic activity of the interstate and Highway 81 is great for the economy, but it does bring a host of social issues that the county attorney's office has to deal with, and York County has to deal with. And this particular program, get the right one here. This particular program and the request for the 1.3 million as opposed to the 1 million that is designated for rural areas takes into account our unique position being located so close to Lincoln. Approximately 8% of the bookings did come from the city of Lincoln. And that does allow us to move into a category to receive an additional $300,000, $100,000 over the 3-year period of time. With this solicitation, the BJA seeks to develop, implement, or expand comprehensive programs in response to the overdose crisis and impacts of illicit opioids, stimulants, or other substances. The program provides resources to support state, local, tribal, and territorial efforts to respond to illicit substance use and misuse, reduce overdose deaths, promote public safety, and support access to prevention, harm reduction, treatment, and recovery services in the community and justice system. In addition to the impacts of substance use on individuals and families, this crisis also impacts communities, first responders, the criminal justice system, child welfare and foster care, and behavioral health systems. COSUP resources are designed to support efforts that respond to, treat, and support those impacted by this crisis, particularly those who have been historically underserved, marginalized, and negatively affected by continued poverty and inequality. These efforts can include community-based prevention and emergency response systems, diversion or deflection from the criminal justice system through law enforcement and other first responder-based responses, and court-based programs, other court-based services such as court navigators and programming in jails and prisons and during reentry. All of these strategies also seek to improve access to harm reduction strategies and to substance use disorder treatment and recovery support services, including peer recovery. I believe the materials were all provided to the county commissioners. And so the program that I really want to try to capital on is an ideal adult diversion program. The funds for this program are supposed to go to adult-related services as opposed to juvenile-related services. The July 1st date for grants.gov has been met. We have provided that. We have till July 1st. We have till July 8th to get the grant actually submitted. We are still working on the details of the specific grant. The 3 components that we're working on right now is to have a licensed alcohol drug counselor that would be sub-awarded. There would be an adult diversion aspect of it that would account for at least 1 county employee and maybe another county employee for 25 to 30 hours a week. And there would also be another peer recovery, peer service that involves community navigators. That would be through the Wellspring Initiative that is in Lincoln, Nebraska. And so the primary focus for this program is to get services to individuals pre-booking. They would be low risk, low needs on the scale as far as people that are entering into the treatment system. And our focus is to get treatment recognition and opportunities to individuals as soon as possible, as opposed to the period of time where often it takes a long period of time through the court system. And so hopefully by having this system implemented, there will be a reduction in crime in the County of York and an improvement in relations in the County of York. I anticipate, from what I was told yesterday, that the funds we would know by November or December if we are to be accepted, and the receipt of the funds actually would not come about until March 2025. You have any questions?
You mentioned sub-award. Is there one sub-award or is there multiple sub-awards? Two? Okay. And are they a majority of that or just part of that? You're talking 400, I don't remember the number, Gary, but 400 some thousand annually.
It's roughly third.
Okay.
That's right.
Because anytime you get federal money and sub-awarded out, you still are responsible for that money.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and tracking. So is that something that your office would be planning on doing?
Yes.
Or,
Yeah.
okay.
And so that would be kind of that 25 hour a week employee kind of grant administrative accounting side of things to make sure everything is going in the right line item and tracked exactly where it needs to be. And so
Okay. So to run these programs, what it would be, you were talking about a couple additional employees,
Correct.
just two?
County, yes.
Because, you know, when I hear new employees, then now we have to house new employees.
Correct.
And then we get into where do we house the employees?
Mhm.
And have we, you know, these are just questions coming to mind for me now, that thought process.
The budget the direct budget can facilitate a space for those two county employees. And so that is, do I have that isolated net down? No. Have I looked at a space? Yes. And so do I have a rough number that I would submit in the grant for that space?
Okay. But it would be within the walls here?
Not necessarily. If it was in the walls here, that would probably free up some money that I could use elsewhere.
Okay.
But right now I have, there's not space in the walls here.
Not much. Broom closets,
Yeah.
not much.
Exactly.
So then you'd be looking at renting additional
That is correct.
space. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Not to interrupt. I
Go
did
ahead.
speak with Jill Clay from the auditing side of it. This would probably trigger an annual audit. The number that she used would be $10,000 to $15,000. And so I would budget for that also.
It would depend upon, I would guess, whether it needed to be a single point audit or a compliance exam. You know, with the ARPA money, they've scaled back some of the ruling so we could do a compliance exam, not a single point audit. And if this is federal money, you know, it'd be nice if it'd fall under that category too, because it was $2,000 versus $10,000, which would be, you know, nice,
Yeah.
obviously.
And how that works exactly, it's technically not tax dollars. It is technically settlement money from Walgreens, Walmart's, the pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
And as far as this, it is a 3-year program. The COSUP fund, I believe, started off in the 18 to 20-year range. I think we're in about year 3. And so the possibility of this program to be extended beyond the 3 years is good.
So when you talk about the settlement, opioid settlement funds, and we currently have funds that come into the county, which have not found a home as of yet, would that be something that could be commingled and used also?
sensitive to the word commingled.
Meaning just be able to use
Yes.
extra funding for
Yes,
the,
yeah, we could find a path. Might not be directly in regards to this particular grant, but I think there is an opportunity that we can use that to assist in other type of options, programs that they have listed in here.
okay. Well, they would have to find a home somewhere. I mean, because I assume it wouldn't be necessarily in your county budget, those funds would be coming into a fund,
Correct.
somewhere. And we already have that one established, like I say, that's been getting, just got settlement funds just again the other day, that are continue to grow, so.
And in big picture, the Reaching Rural initiative that Tristan and I are both part of, there is $100,000 that could be available with that opportunity also. That is also COSA related, and as we see here right now, we are unsure if they're going to allow us to have access to that $100,000 if we are successful in receiving the 1.3 million.
Okay. Well, this would obviously the right time of year to talk about it because we're doing the budget, and the budget can be formulated in lieu of a grant, and then if the grant don't come in, I mean, then it kind of doesn't happen.
Correct.
Unless the county wants to, continue to, ask for more property tax money,
Right.
obviously. So, any other questions of Gary this morning?
No, I guess one thing I would like to say is thank you for working on this, Gary. I think this is a very important step to fixing a long problem that this county's faced. And I like taking a different direction than just locking people up, and the recidivism rates prove that what we're doing is not working. So I see this as potential long-term benefits to the county, so thank you.
You're welcome. I will fully acknowledge that until I saw that publication from 2022, saw York County and Madison County tied, it was motivation for me to try to do things differently, and hence Tristan was able to find the Reaching Rural initiative for us. And we're trying to do this with the recognition at the federal level that resources in rural America are hard. They're just hard to get. There was a publication in the Nebraska Examiner yesterday that talked about the difficulty for county attorneys and public defenders in rural areas to get employees. And so we're doing what we can do to find the funds to help us address some shortcomings in our system to make the city, community, county, state a better place for us all.
Daniel, you got something?
Just the couple things on the timeline, or the how long you think this. You mentioned the first round is like a 3-year
Correct.
funding, and then but the fund itself that these funds are coming from is longer than that.
Correct.
And so, I mean, this is more of a crystal ball look. In perfect world, we would get awarded it, everything moves forward. At the end of the 3 years, they extend it, we get that as well. Have you thought through what happens if we build this program up and then funds dry away? Just in that, if we
Hold
have
on a second.
Yep.
That door needs to be, I don't know if somebody pulled that door shut. That door needs to be open. Thank you.
Hiring a couple new employees, just if you've thought about if the grant funds would dissolve, how we could, either have to sunset the program or how we would continue it after the grant. Has that been a thought in your head?
It has.
Yep.
What rattles through my mind is from what I've been instructed through the individuals that are at the top of the cycle here and writing this grant, is that year 4 is pretty much gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then to get an additional 3 years would take a modification to the current grant. So that'd be years 5, 6, and 7. And to be blunt, if the program really, really, really works, hopefully we can scale it back.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
ideally, if we could cut law enforcement in half, that would be the ideal goal.
Sure.
As far as a state agency or another agency that could take over that particular funding, as I sit here right now, I do not know.
Sure. Okay. Yep.
I believe the governor recently has indicated that he wants I believe Nebraska is one of 4 states that he wants a substantial reduction, improvement in recidivism by 2030. And so perhaps along that avenue, there could be, if this is as
Sure.
successful as I think we can make it, there could be some assistance in that regard also.
Very good.
And I think with the sub-awards in itself, they kind of rely on providing those services that could continue with those agencies if they wanted to. And so, yeah, putting up those supports in a different way, I think, kind of goes to the continuation if it is needed at that.
Sure.
So.
Which triggered another question. The licensed drug advisor, that's one of the sub-awards. I believe that was Four Corners that you were discussing that might be
Correct.
working on that. You've had discussions with them and they're on board with trying to expand that in their offices?
Yes.
Okay.
I have spoke with Four Corners and I have spoke with Wellbeing Initiative and have budgets from each of those.
Okay,
That's
yep.
a board budget from each one of
Right.
those, from each one of those groups.
Everything? So this is kind of the start of the conversation, you know, and I think that if any of the commissioners have any more questions for you, they can come forward. I assume you'll be turning in budget over the next couple weeks.
Yes.
At that time, the budget committee may have some more questions. I'm sure I will, as I think forward. You know, touching on one, you know, Daniel just brought up, you know, we know that Tristan's juvenile diversion, we had told them, you know, if that ever dried up, then that, unless no more funding was found, that position could dry up, unless the commissioners once again want to go at more property tax. So, you know, I mean, I think everybody's trying to do the best they can do.
I agree.
I know you pointed out that, we talked yesterday, that pointed out that Examiner article, and they could come back and they could do one on about every industry around. I mean, it's just hard to find employees I don't know where they all went. Because we don't have them all incarcerated. Yeah. We got a fair amount of them incarcerated, but we don't have them all incarcerated. So I don't know, it's just tough. It's real tough. So, any other questions of Gary this morning? Okay, thanks.
And I did meet with Commissioner Sykes and
Okay.
and provided him with materials also.
Okay. Thank you.
You
Do
bet.
you want any,
I don't know that
Okay.
there really is any.
there's nothing to act, it did say discuss and act, do we, but if we just, I mean, we discussed it, so that's
Yeah,
good enough.
there's really nothing to act on as of yet. The act will come during the budget time, truly. And that gives us, like I say, a month and a half of conversations and all that fun stuff. So, thank you, guys.
You bet. Thank you.
You bet.
Do you want to?
If you want to table something? No, I don't think there's really any need. to do
It was
anything.
something else, don't,
Okay,
it's,
all right.
okay.
We're just gonna keep going on, discuss and act on Housing Authority Grant 12, the drawdown, $65,145.18.
And this is work that's been done, we're paying the contractors, or how, we've done enough of
This-
these, I should remember.
Yes, this is the drawdown that we signed on 6/7/2024, and now the money came in and
Okay.
distributed out. And we've
Motion.
got to be getting close.
That's what I was thinking.
And what's it for again?
This is the rural workforce housing,
This is the housing rehab, owner rehab
there you go,
projects.
that, yeah.
Got it.
Motion to approve,
Thank you.
Housing Authority Grant number 12 drawdown.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Crooks,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Sykes, Oberon.
Yes. Okay, discuss and act on transfer budget authority within the general and cheat sheet, I can read it about as well. Okay, every year, you know, it seems like we end up doing just a little bit. This year, we did have 5 funds that were having shortfalls in them. York County Child Support under the District Court, that's Fund 631, was, and the numbers I'm giving gives enough with a little bit of cushion in case some addition was off. So 3,100, that would be needed to make that fund flush. York County Attorney, 652, 20,000. County Court, we all know that one had been under siege because of public, you know, hiring public defenders and public defenders not turning in billing on time. And so there was a push to try to get most of those bills in this year. And apparently a fair amount of them did come in, and they were 101,000. We'll get that one to where it needs to be. Data processing, which is 610, needs 39,000. Data processing went through some issues this year with, I believe, the phone system. And Daniel, you can probably speak to this just a little bit more. This phone system that we went through, the infrastructure that we underestimated had to be, you know, caught up to speed, not only here, but in the extension and the roads department. And then there was just more need for equipment.
Yep.
If you can imagine
We
all the
had
computers and printers and everything that we have, this was just a down year for that. So.
Right. We had some service time that we underestimated on some down issues that we had during those transfers, or during that swap over. And so that inflated that as well. And so, yeah, just mainly it was some unforeseen hardware. You mentioned the infrastructure, and then the project. There was just some hiccups, unforeseen hiccups that cost us more.
And then the last one is the child support under York County Attorney, and that is 662. That needs $4,000 transferred over to it for a grand total of $167,100. This is one of the higher years that we've been involved with, and we do have funds under the 100 that we do tend to pick on a little bit for this, and those are split. Did you have that split number for me?
No, but it's the 101,000 comes out of the miscellaneous general, and the rest comes out of the building.
The building fund. So between those two, the building fund and the miscellaneous, which is 970, miscellaneous misline, will absorb those two. And then we will reprint budget sheets so it looks like they had those funds to begin with, and then we just have to remember that they didn't have those funds to begin with, and as we go through our next budget. So these can be, for Andy and Leroy, these can be, these funds under the 100 general, they can be transferred within each other. And so we don't have to open up the budget again. If it would have been, say, the roads department, the emergency manager, emergency call center, those are separate funds, and then we would have had to. And that's why before, when we were transferring money, we try to build cushions into those to absorb it. The cushions in the 100 are basically our miscellaneous, and, you know, like the county building fund. Those are kind of our cushions, because every year this seems to happen. We fall short, unexpected costs, you know, different things like that. So that will need to be done by resolution also.
I did them as individual, but you tell me how you want it.
Can we do it under one resolution? No?
No,
Okay, that's fine.
Can we adopt, make a motion to adopt multiple resolutions?
however you want it.
Works for me.
Well, we could do all the building and grounds as one.
let's just
Okay.
take them one at a time. That's
Okay.
how she wrote them up, so.
Okay.
We'll just call it, the first one is 631, Fund 631, and adopt a resolution to transfer.
Motion to adopt a resolution to transfer for the 631 fund,
Yeah, of $3,100.
$3,100.
Yeah. Which
I'll second that.
Thank you. Second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Gross.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Ott.
Yes.
Sykes. Overmeyer.
Yes. And 652, we need to adopt a resolution to transfer $20,000 into 652.
Make a motion to adopt a resolution, transfer funds to 652.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Bowman.
Yes.
Ott.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Sykes. Overmeyer.
Yes. And county court, adopt a resolution to transfer $101,000 to 622. I'll make that, if I can do one.
Sure,
I'll do
go
that
ahead.
to alleviate some stuff here.
You betcha. I'll second.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
What was that account number?
622.
Thanks.
No discussion, roll call.
Overmeyer.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Ott.
Yes.
Sykes.
And 610, we need to do 39,000.
Motion to adopt resolution to fund 610, $39,000.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gross.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Ott.
Yes.
Sykes. Overmeyer.
Yes, and the last one, 662, 4,000.
So moved to transfer to 662. Funds of 4,000.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. Roll call.
Ott.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Sykes. Overmeyer.
Yes. Okay, thank you, everybody. We are right at 9:30, so we'll ask John to come up. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you folks doing?
Good.
Good.
Couple new faces around here,
Yes.
John, so introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm John Day. I'm the Executive Director of Blue Valley Behavioral Health. We provide outpatient behavioral health services in 16 different counties in southeast Nebraska. We see approximately 6,000 people every year throughout all our offices. We cover 16 different counties, have 11 different offices. Provide outpatient mental health and substance abuse services. We're Nebraska's largest outpatient behavioral health provider. And so I'm here every year. The county's been able to be very gracious and support our expansion of substance abuse services that we had several years ago, and we've been able to sustain them. So in the previous years, there's been a contribution of $5,000 that we used to help cover our increased expenses in providing substance abuse services. Last year, overall, we provided about 800, we saw approximately 800 people last year for both mental health and substance abuse, and that's adults and youth. And out of that, 800, right around 225 or so, were right around for substance abuse. So about 25% of people we see in our York office is for substance abuse, for youth and for adults. We work with the court systems, we work with probation, attorneys, but for substance abuse, but overall we receive referrals from the schools, physicians, and hospitals. So we have a really strong relationship with a lot of different referral sources here in town. And so for this upcoming budgeted year, I again appreciate your support for $5,000 to be used towards our substance abuse services in our York office. And I want to make myself available to answer any other questions you might have about that.
And would you hear much, I guess I didn't see when you did walk in, John, to hear Gary and this other fund that's going on anyhow, the uptick or the continual issues we have in this county? Do you see those numbers going up, or have they stayed steady for a while that you're dealing with?
The need continues to be there. Sometimes the reason for the need changes over the years. Just with the last 2 or 3 years after dealing with COVID, post-COVID, I think society-wise, I think there's been kind of a change in how people react to things, and so we're continuing to see a presence of that, whether it's mental health issues or for substance abuse. Alcohol and marijuana continue to be the number 1-2 punch for substance abuse. After that, it would be methamphetamine, and then some opioid after that. But yeah, there's continues to be an additional stress. You know, I think some of it has to do with, you know, social media and exposure to those type of things at earlier ages has a huge impact on our mentality. But yeah, our new numbers continue to grow. There was a little plateau right after COVID, but then after that, it kind of started upticking again. And so behavioral health needs will always be there, and different causes, and so it's good to know that we are able to provide the services here locally, and people are able to stay here local rather than having to drive further distances for their services.
So the funding source that you're asking for is $5,000 from
Correct.
the county, which has been, you know, somewhat traditional.
Right.
Do you have, or is available your budget where all your other funding? Can you get us a copy of that
Sure.
to see that too,
You
John?
bet, you
Okay.
bet, you bet.
Just most of your funding, is it come federal or state?
It's, we have a $9 million budget overall. Our organization has a $9 million budget. About 45% of that comes from Medicaid, Medicare. About another 25% or so comes from private insurance. And then about another 20% comes from Region 5 for sliding fee for those who don't have insurance. And the remaining are private contracts we have. We used to have kind of a third, you know, third used to be Medicaid, Medicare, a third sliding fee, Region 5, and a third private insurance. But with Medicaid expansion happening a couple years ago, it decreased the need for sliding fee, and then we had increase in Medicaid. So that's why we have a little bit higher percentage now with Medicaid, Medicare than we did a couple years ago.
Okay. Any other questions of John this morning? Just appreciate the service.
All right.
If you could just forward that information to Kelly, and then she could get it
Yeah.
on to us.
No problem.
Okay?
All right, thank
Thanks,
you.
John. Have a
Thanks.
great
You
day.
bet. You too.
Okay. I know we have another John with us today, so we'll ask John with Tallgrass to come up and take care of that one yet too this morning. Good morning.
Morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having me today. I know you've got an excellent agenda, so I'll try to keep it at a high-level update. Just wanted to make sure that communicating about where we're at and what we're doing. You'll remember us as a local infrastructure company. We've had operations here in York County for about a decade. We've got about 100 employees statewide, including here in York County, about 2,500 miles of infrastructure in the state, including here in York County. We've got the interstate gas transmission system here. We do about $10 million of business each year with Nebraska suppliers and about $6 million in taxes to local governments, including York County. And right now, we'd like to increase our investment in the county. You know, over the past 2 years, we've been working with local ethanol producers to support production of low-carbon fuels to add value to Nebraska agriculture. We know biofuels is a big deal here. Green Plains here in York buys about 18 million bushels of corn every year from area producers. We also know area producers send grain down to Central City and Fairmont and points beyond. So biofuels is a big deal in York County. To get this done, we're converting our Trailblazer pipeline to transport and store the CO2 that's produced by these ethanol facilities. And to do that, we need to build smaller laterals to connect those facilities down to Trailblazer. And these connections are really what's going to allow us to increase demand for York County corn and really to add value to what we're able to do with that corn. Ultimately, it's about a $43 million investment here in York County. That includes about 28 miles of underground pipeline, a capture facility over at the Green Plains facility, a junction, and above ground valves. And it's expected to generate about 18 million additional in state and local property taxes in the first year after construction, and about $500,000 will stay here in York County. We're seeing some really strong support. We've been engaging stakeholders across the county. Just this past Thursday, we hosted about 40 local leaders over at Chances Are, just so we could all have a chance to eat that bread pudding, but also to talk about the project a little bit. We had members from the local Corn Growers Association, area businesses, local NRD, local first responders, York County farmers, UNL Extension, economic developers. Really good time, really good conversation. held a first responder training session here in York on January 20th. We've had about 20 of these total, including in Aurora, Rising City, Central City, Geneva, and Shelby. We've had representatives from more than 60 departments attend. We have begun reaching out to area departments for another one here in York County in July. So we're hoping to get that scheduled to get that off the ground. Of course, we're working really closely with landowners as well. We've got survey permission from 100% of the landowners on the route, and we have made offers to over 90% of the landowners on that proposed route, and we've secured easements from just about 90%, a little over 90% of the landowners along the route. So that's going along really well. Some of those outstanding landowners, I don't want to get into too much detail, but one is Green Plains. So we're obviously going to come to agreement with Green Plains. So some of those, when you get toward the end, they're business related in that sense. We need a lot of permits in York County. I believe it's about 53 total for York County. We've submitted 32 of those. Most of them are road crossings we submitted to the county in early May. About 20 left over. That includes crossing agreements, temporary driveway approaches, federal highway permits, railroad permits. There's just a lot of permits in a project like this. We're targeting early July for the rest of those, and then also early July for the permit we'll need from the city of York over at the Green Plains facility. We need a permit to add on to that facility over there, so that's what we're targeting there. And all in all, we're hoping to get construction off the ground in November once crops are out. If we can get everything done in that small window from when crops are out before they go back in, we'll feel really good about what we're doing. That's kind of the long and the short of it.
Is there you got that time frame of hopefully you're done by next spring. Is there a time frame that needs to be up and running?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're hoping to have everything in the ground, and then as far as what we're doing at the individual facilities, we think we'll be able to in about 12 months from right now. So our goal is mid-2025. If it's mid to late 2025, that's going to be all right. But we hope to be operating in about 12 months from now.
Okay. And I know that there was some conversation with the zoning about whether it was hazardous or not hazardous, and whether it fit in our zoning, and it sounds like those issues have been worked out, and it's able to go through.
Yeah.
The way it looks, you just need the road crossing permits, and you're saying some of those have been done?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. In early May, and I should just say I give a lot of credit to planning and zoning administrator here and the legal team for doing their due diligence and really digging through that. You know, it's a complex issue, but they went through it. They were very thorough, and
Okay.
they made the right choice. And it's just really positive to work with the county that has their act together in that way.
Okay. Any questions for John this morning while he's in front of us? The only comment I'd make is that now that you are getting and going, maybe like we visited in May and asked you to be here in June, just get it on the calendar for, sometime in the fall.
Yeah.
Just an update again,
Yeah.
if you would, please.
Great idea. I'd be really glad to. And if there are any other questions come up, feel free to reach out.
We have your number.
All right.
Thanks, Sean. Okay, back up to the agenda. Discuss an act on authorizing additional 1% budget authority for the budget year 2024, 2025. This does take a supermajority of the sitting board, and that's not the people in the room, but it is of the whole board. So in the case today, it would take all four to agree to this. This is budget authority. Once again, this is not budget itself. It just gives the authority to give you the room to add the additional funding if it is needed. We are limited by our levy at 2.5%, and this gives the additional 1%. Historically, this board has kind of bounced back and forth. As we all sat in on a meeting, well, not all, I guess, unfortunately didn't make it, but the state budget, Jeff Schreier, his opinion, as we heard, was that this is a good thing. It doesn't mean you're spending money. It just gives that authority in that case it ever happens. So, and does this need to be done by resolution or just simple motion? Just simple motion on this one. Any questions on this one? Comments? shrug of shoulders.
So yeah, I've been on both sides of authorizing and not authorizing. Last year we did not authorize it. The year before that we did. I've always been hesitant to authorize that, in that it seems like, well, we've authorized it, so let's go ahead and use it. But we've seen how prices and everything have increased, and what you've often mentioned is that we don't want to make our actions tie the hands of the next board down the road. And, you know, there's a case to be made for that. So I guess kind of the way that I've been trying to think about this and think about the budget and think about, you know, authorizing this, you made the point that this is not saying we are going to increase our budget by 3.5%. This is giving the authority to do what we need to do. So I guess thinking through that, if a budget is presented that we feel has grown to a point where we're not comfortable, that's where we have to vote to not pass that budget and cut some areas where we think we can cut. And so that's kind of where my brain has been this year as I've thought through whether or not we should authorize this. So I can be on board authorizing it this year, just with the statement that as we look at the budget, if our budget comes to us and we've used this full 3.5%, I will probably be a no vote on that budget.
The thing that makes me want to add the 1% is there's going to be a special session in 2 weeks, and who knows what the governor's going to try and get put through so that we get less money to start with, is another thing.
Now, if that happens,
Yeah,
this goes away.
yeah.
Because if they develop new rules, then this is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So but these are the rules we live by right now. And that's a big if.
I know. That's. I would be in support of it, just so you know, but it doesn't mean we have to spend it.
No.
It's just the ability. I would probably be the same way as you are. Don't want to see that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I don't, like I said, I'm on board with authorizing this authority today, but I'm not on board spending it. And so if we get a budget presented that we've spent this, I'll be a no vote on that budget, and we'll have to do some more cutting.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I would be for it as well, just given the flexibility it's going to allow us for some additional programs and some other things that we could potentially take a look at with it.
Well, I always like the chart he puts up of the 20 years compared to not, because then, as you stated, we're affecting boards down the road, and who knows what's going to happen down the road. So it's really up to us to control the budget. Whether our directors and elected officials like it or not, it's really up to us. Okay, I'd entertain a motion then.
I make the motion authorizing the additional 1% budget authority for
Thank
budget
you.
year 2025, 24 through 25.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bowman.
Yes.
Ott.
Yes.
Brooks.
Yes.
Sykes. And Obermeyer.
Yes. Okay, next up, I left this on here, discuss and act on 911 director. The joint board was supposed to have met yesterday, and unfortunately, there was a publication error, and so we was not able to meet as a board to give a recommendation for this. As you all know, Leila left back in mid-May, and then we started advertising right away, and we got 3 communications, 2 applications. We had a communications from Saline County, and the first question was, do I need to live in York County? And my response was, it is preferred for our directors to live within our county. And then we had the deputy director from our call center, and then we had a applicant from Pennsylvania, York, Pennsylvania, actually, and a much larger call center. She was very qualified, but the only concerning between Zell and myself was that they were just looking for a change in life. And this is a pretty big one, and what happens in a few months when that isn't no longer needed. And seeing how we had somebody that was right within the call center, the deputy knows everybody, give us some stability, it would be my recommendation to recommend Mindy Gherkin for this. But once again, we don't have the recommendation from the joint board, the advisory board. That meeting has been rescheduled for Friday, and the last I knew, publication did make it, so we're good to go. We are going to meet Friday. So one of 2 ways that we can handle this is approve by the approval of that joint recommendation board, or we could do a special meeting ourselves next Monday and do it that way. It's either way is fine with me. I do want to hear from that board. Like I say, we got together, but I told them we couldn't have a meeting, and then we got untogether because we are regulated by the open meetings law because of the nature of that board. So that's it. And I didn't ask Mindy to show up today. I didn't know if she would or not, but I didn't ask her to show up today because there's really no decision we can make. So go ahead.
What I was gonna say is, from a county standpoint, and from what I've heard you said in on the interviews, the recommendation is that Mindy would be that next director.
Yes.
What if we made a motion that, as the county board, we're recommending Mindy, and in that motion, authorize the chairman to extend that offer pending that the recommendation from the joint advisory committee also mirrors this board's recommendation.
That's an option, yes, if this board's comfortable with that. And then that would start July 1st.
Right. That, I would make that motion. I think that would be
Okay.
the way I would like to see it.
And then we will have her at our next meeting. As long as everything goes smoothly, we'll have her at our next meeting. Okay, we do have a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Brooks.
Yes.
Ott.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Sykes. And Overman.
Yes. Discuss and act on applying OJJDP.
I know, it's a mouthful.
That's not as nice as the
It's like COSIP, yeah. Hello again. Tristan Perry, diversion coordinator for the county, and I got a couple little handouts. I know I emailed everyone yesterday, but just giving you the pages that I was kind of pointing out in your email. So yes, with this OJJDP grant, it is a federal grant. It kind of is just, it's in correlation with the COSA, kind of stumbled upon it when we were looking at grants.gov and all the solicitations that they have. And so this is also, it's focused on mental health. It's really looking at collaboration. And so in a way, this would strengthen the vision for kind of that preventative system to kind of include the juvenile side as well. And so the COSEP, they'll focus on the adult side. This is where we might be able to plug in on the juvenile side a little more and getting the youth access to the mental health services or substance abuse services, similar to what the COSEP will be doing for the adult population. And so, like I said, I just printed off, I emailed you the whole solicitation, about 3-some pages, but these are the pages I just wanted to really point out. The synopsis, that second paragraph kind of goes over that the OJJDP kind of is looking for that cross-system collaboration to improve responses and outcomes for youth under the age of 18 or youth under the jurisdiction of the juvenile justice system with mental health disorders or co-occurring mental health and substance abuse disorders. And so really similar to just trying to give them preventative services if they are involved in any activity that could relate going through the juvenile justice system. And so on the second page here, which is page 17 of the actual solicitation, I highlighted the phase 1. So this is a total of $650,000 over the 3 years. And so the first year, there is a 4 to 6 month period where it's just planning. Only $50,000 of that grant would be used. My plan would be to go for that whole 650 for the 3 years, which is around 216 per year. And so that would maybe alter that first year budget just a little, but that kind of ties into the third page I printed out for you guys, which is page 20 in the whole solicitation. And so this federal grant does have a match requirement. For the first 2 years, it's a 20% match, and then the third year is a 40% match. I highlighted that in-kind match in that first sentence there. And so I have an email out to the OJJDP grant people, and I am hoping that the in-kind match could be like the office space, the paper that we use, the program expenses that the county already kind of has going on that you supply. And so that would be my hope to kind of not require any of that cash match. So those are the big aspects that I wanted to point out, and the application is due July 8th or 2nd, and so that would just be getting out there. They only award 6 awards in the whole program, so super, I don't know how likely it is, but just something to reach out. We would know by October, and then it would get started October, November is when they start awarding it, and then go from there.
So the current juvenile program, it has yourself and Brennan.
Right.
Would this expand on that current program?
Yes, and so the plan would be to hopefully grab some of those hours from the licensed professional from Four Corners to maybe spend some of the time on the youth side of things, or if Four Corners would want to go about having like a part-time or something like that, but really just allocating hours that could be spent on the youth side of things. And so that's the one piece, and then the other piece is to have more of a community navigator, which is Brennan. And so it's not adding a position, just altering it to do a little, not more per se, but that juvenile diversion piece is kind of what he would be doing that, while big picture I would be hopefully helping run that prevention system. So if that makes any sense.
So you're talking about no additional staff, in a sense, I don't know if it'd be contracting not Blue Valley, but Four Corners, but hiring Four Corners to do certain things, or sub-awarding
Right,
to
it
Four
would be a
Corners
sub-award.
certain amount of money.
Right.
Okay.
Right, exactly.
How does this exist with the Crime Commission grants that we currently get?
And so what it would boil down to is, I would figure both grants would just want like an amount of hours tracked on what duties are being done at which point. And I've already talked to the Crime Commission about how the split happens, and they said other counties kind of just have that. We spend 30 hours of our time on the duties in the program funded by the Crime Commission, which would be that diversion and truancy, and then this would be collaborating with Four Corners, and so there's not too much of a mix-up. But
Okay.
yeah, if there is, it's just kind of a track what you're spending your time on.
Okay. So this needs a turn-in date here pretty quick, and then this, once again, would be something you're gonna plan on budgeting for.
Right.
But if it doesn't happen, it probably doesn't happen, type of a deal. Okay, any questions for?
Tristan, do you feel that with our statistics that Gary shared with us earlier, that would give us a higher likelihood of receiving this grant?
Yeah, I think with the focus just on the recidivism and some of the data that we get from UNO that really ties into what our youth are admitting in like school surveys, marijuana use, and some of that data really, I think, should supply us with a good chance at showing them that it is necessary, and that the preventative services is really a big piece, that if we can supply more of that service side of things, it'll have a big impact. And so that's the key goal, is to make sure that we can coordinate people to those services, and then if we can help provide any of those direct services like mental health therapy, that sort of thing, then it just increases our chances of reducing that recidivism rate with those evidence-based practices in place.
Daniel?
Question on the award and the match. Like years 1 and 2 are a 20% match. Year 3 is a 40% match. Do you know how, like, so would that be, you mentioned the 216,000 roughly over 3 years. So is that, then they would be looking at a share of 40% of that 216?
Right.
So,
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, let's see. So, not quite 200,000 of county match, 175, if I'm doing my math
Over the
right.
whole, like 3 years.
Right.
Correct, right. Yep, and I think getting that value of the in-kind match would really eat into that. I don't know if they would get up to that full 175, but there is another OJJ-BP grant that is due the middle of August that I've kind of been looking at, and it'd still be kind of focused on supplying some of the monies to kind of provide those services and draw into that bigger picture. And so look at that as well. And that's a little less, that's 450 for 3 years, and so broken up. I do not remember off the top of my head if there is a match or not. So that's what, and we can look at.
And this is federal.
Yes. Yep.
So there's, once again, there's gonna be auditing.
Yep.
You know, I mean, that won't be the only number. There'll be other
Right,
other
yep,
expenses also.
correct. And, you talked about, moving Brennan around a little bit maybe and bringing in, with the Four Corners. Have you talked to Four Corners about whether or not they could handle
Yeah,
both these programs that we're
yeah,
looking
with
at?
the conversation that Gary and I had with them, it was kind of a tie-in, like big picture, what hours could be supplemented where type of deal. They kind of had the idea of like 1.5 for if we were able to supply what with the funds. So
Okay,
right.
Doable.
Yep. And with what you, I mean, I suppose some of the individuals that you work with currently would be moved. Probably, I mean, you could foresee that this program would work with them. So it might. Do you see that adding this program would be a increased workload for you and Brennan, or not overly?
So really the program itself doesn't change. It is that diversion, and what Brennan would kind of go to is he'd still have that truancy piece, but it'd also be part of a community navigator piece of getting them to mentoring programs or to Four Corners for a Civil War that we would provide. And so the amount of work I don't foresee would change. It's just, again, it's trying to have that effective program that we can maybe serve a little more than we're serving right now, but it still has that effect on the recidivism rates. It has those evidence-based practices is what you could probably find in every single grant you look into, and that is a chunk that is sometimes just really hard to find because those evidence-based programs cost money, or the way to go about it would be like mental health, substance abuse clinicians, that's evidence-based. And so it is really just strengthening, in a sense, is how I kind of see it. And so, yeah.
How does Polk County figure into this?
The pieces that would be referred to like diversion or truancy could use the services just because that MOU, it's that flow through. And so the county like itself, yeah, they would, the flow through would be like York County, and so that MOU is just anyone that would come through our program.
Okay.
Yeah, be treated that way, I guess. So,
Okay.
Yep.
So we need a decision today, obviously, to apply for the funds,
Right.
apply for the grant.
Right.
Okay. And this one does have, like you pointed out, some costs to it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, which would be a budget. I mean, it's gonna
Right.
fall down to the budget too.
Right,
So
correct.
even if we just apply for them today,
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily mean until we adopt the budget that we've adopted the program.
Right. How does that work if we would say, okay, let's go ahead and we'll apply for the grant, but then we come down to budget time and you find out that we, the in-kind is not gonna get there. And so, year one, 20%, 45,000, and the board says, you know what, we can't come up with that. Do they just, okay, we'll then move on to somebody else that had applied that
I believe
didn't
so.
receive the,
You're not obligated to, of
Right.
course, take that award, and then, I think it would just move on to that, next applicant, or,
because, I mean, that to me is the biggest hangup, you know, if we can find out that in-kind office space, stuff like that is covering it, you know, that's one thing.
Mhm.
But if we have to say, you know what, we gotta find some place to bring in 45,000, and I don't know who's gonna want to, give up that 45,000. And so, you know, that is my hangup. And so, you know, if we're able to find that in kind, you know, I have a whole lot easier time saying yes, let's do this.
yeah.
So yeah, that
Right, and I can chase down that answer this week, and if we come down to it and they say no, then and this way wouldn't, make up that.
Sure.
We could maybe proactively not apply that.
I see.
Second.
Sure.
Right,
Right.
so
Yep.
I could chase that down, so.
If I may.
yeah.
Sure.
I'd be remiss if I didn't speak up. And so, Mr. Bowman, in regards to the Reach and Rural initiative that we received, that was earmarked for rural communities and was very, very competitive. We're the only county in Nebraska that has been awarded this particular grant. There was an individual in Jefferson that received it, but I know there were other counties in Nebraska jurisdictions that applied and didn't get it. And so the data that we provided indicated that we are in need. We are drastically in need of sources. From my office, which is just above us, I can hear what is going on with the youth in our community, and there's an issue. And whereas at the adult level, things have kind of moderated, at the youth level, they are not moderating. They are going up. And the reason why, I do not know. I think COVID has a large play with it, but it is, the need for additional sources is substantial. The amount of money that we have saved the county with in attorney's fees by having our juvenile diversion program is substantial. On a juvenile court case, there's at least one, sometimes two, sometimes three attorneys that are court appointed at $125 an hour. And so being able to get programs like Mr. Perry is talking about would allow us to get more people into diverting from the system. And the cost savings there is not only direct at day one, but at the back end from being able to get these individuals into a setting where there is real rehabilitation being services that are being provided so that their families are no longer being dependent on government services, that they're actually paying into the programs is substantial. And so from that standpoint, there could be some county match on this, and at the, coming out of the gate, it might look like a lot, but at the back end of the story, the improvement that it was going to have for the individuals that are in this program on their families, which flows to this community, I think are substantial.
Yeah, to me, I see our match on this as being a drop in the bucket to the potential that this could have for the county. I'd echo my comments with the COSA grant. I think this is the first arm. Hopefully, if we can address these things earlier, the need for the COSA program diminishes quicker. The money I think that we could save from a county standpoint versus what the in-kind is, or the cost share of this grant is, to me, is irrelevant, I guess. My motion would be to approve this and move forward with it. Like, whether we want to admit it or not, we have a problem in this county, and it is a growing problem. So, make a motion to move forward with the grant,
Applying for the grant.
applying for the grant. Yep.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion? I think it's just gonna come down to, like I say, it still comes down to budget.
It does.
And it comes down to dollars, and it comes down to lid levy, and it comes down to a lot of things. It comes down to raises, and, you know, we can save a ton of money, but if there's, you know, if it ends up there's no room, there's just no room. I mean,
Well,
that's
but
just.
and it
the
also
way it
comes down to,
makes.
what do we need to fix in the county? What's the biggest problems that we need to address as a commissioner board? I think the drug and the alcohol problem is probably one that should be on the top of our list. I know everyone wants to bitch about the roads and complain about those, but this is a bigger problem, in my opinion.
Well, as we're gonna hear in the next 15 minutes, it's gonna be about taxes. Even though we're talking about valuation, it's gonna be about taxes.
Yeah.
And, so, yeah, there's a whole lot, but yeah, we do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Bowman,
Yes.
Ott,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Sykes, and Oakley.
Yes, okay. If we got something to sign,
Thank you.
leave it around some.
All right.
Okay, that does bring us, unless I missed something, that brings us to the end, other than committee reports. Anybody want to start?
I can go first. Had a Blue Valley Community Action meeting last week. Went through raises and a lot of good things happening with that organization. But pretty much the highlights. Address some housing issues, looking at some Region 5, or not Region 5, some Head Start building issues that are coming up. Not in our county, fortunately. That's it.
Okay. Go ahead, Leroy. You got anything?
No committee meeting.
You went to NACO.
Been a couple.
Well, yeah. Okay.
You learn anything?
Yeah. Just, one of the big things at NACO was, that I learned was that Glenwood has a very good reputation, so that made me feel good after the ladies that were giving a presentation on what you don't want them doing in your county that has happened to them with this project that the government has given so many billions or millions of dollars to rural areas. Is you want a reputable place, and everyone I said Glenwood to, oh, well, they're good, you don't have to worry about them. There's places that have people boring things right down the middle of the ditch and to the roadside and all kinds of stuff, so makes me feel a little better that we have Glenwood doing ours out in the country with that grant money. That's good.
Okay.
I'm sure you guys have more to say.
Daniel.
So attended the NACO budget workshop and heard some good things there. YCDC executive committee met, and so it was a good discussion. A lot of things happening. I think the ESI, which is the entrepreneur program, they did have to cancel that because there wasn't enough applicants this year, but they've got some. They're going to go in a different direction with a few things, and I think it'll be good. There, some fun things they're going to do there. And the SIND board was to meet Thursday, but that was moved till this Thursday.
Okay. Well, we all went to NACO pretty much, and I believe we was all at the public hearing for zoning, and Four Corners for me was canceled this last week. There was a lack of a quorum. Everybody got, I mean, it was fortunate for us, the meeting's here. Everybody else got scared because of the storms that were coming through that night, so they were backing out of the meeting. I believe we meet in July then. So we'll have an update on the building project and everything at that point in time. The I met with a third, roughly, of the roads department employees. Me and Maddie from Zell did last week, and we'll continue to go through the roads department as we will continue to work our way through the courthouse and other employees, just visiting about, you know, where we're at and our benefits and any questions that they may have and different things like that. So that took place last week. As Nick stated this morning, he is cleaning out his room, which is 3/4 of that room. Megan has got the other quarter on the other side of the wall. And once we get things kind of all cleaned out and situated, we can see where the floor will be. We are at our budget year. They did, they being the sheriff's department, did get some bids in. They do fall under the part where we have to have a sealed bid. I think one was above it, but there's two that they're actually below that number. And I'm sure they are gonna want a decision from this board, so we will put that on the first meeting of July about the possible employee gym in the basement. And I know that they will have access to funds, federal forfeiture money at that point in time after the first of the after the first of the month, the first of the budget year. So I think we owe it to them to get together, and if there's any questions about that downstairs, ask Josh from the sheriff's department, or we can walk you down and show you that room. Bringing up the public hearing we did go to, you know, obviously we heard a lot of comments that night. Everybody had the information forwarded to you from Marvin Consultants. So at some point in time, I think we need to, you know, whether we need to do it by board action or do we need to get together again with, I thought maybe a group meeting with the zoning board also and Marvin Consultants would be good to have, because the zoning board did change a little bit. And we, as we go to these meetings, we find out if we did something wrong, we corrected it, and that has been corrected. We need to have one person on our zoning board and on the Board of Adjustments. And that is currently in place now. So I guess it'd be my recommendation if we can find some time to do that in the very near future, and have that joint meeting. It'd be a public meeting, a joint meeting to have that conversation with Marvin Consultants. So I'll probably visit with Nate a little bit and see what time's available, and when we can get Keith around or John around. The one thing I did find out at one of the NACO meetings is this is happening all across the state. Absolutely all across the state. So that's the information I have. You got anything? Okay, so they give us a 10-minute break before we meet back at 10:30 as the Board of Equalization. And the Board of Commissioners will be adjourned.